That's being laid out on this front?
No, in fact, it's just fresh off the press. So I think you should expect tangible plans to come out after this.
The World Bank just shocked the system. You probably missed it because they didn't make a big splash. But the World Bank just dropped a bombshell that could reshape the global financial system from the ground up. And it directly impacts XRP and XLM holders. This isn't some vague policy paper buried in bureaucracy. It's a blueprint. A declaration that the world's most powerful financial institution is officially endorsing the future of money, and it's being built on blockchain rails. And they didn't just vaguely reference crypto. They got specific. They called out Ripple and Stellar by name. They positioned CBDC integration as a core mission. They labeled ISO 20022 as the required language for interoperability. And they acknowledged the need for digital public infrastructure to solve cross-border settlement inefficiencies. This is the moment everything shifts. Not theory, not experimentation, but policy-backed deployment. And if you're holding XRP or XLM, you're not just early. You're embedded inside the next financial system before the rest of the world even realizes it's live. What the World Bank actually said. In their landmark publication titled Central Bank Digital Currencies for Cross-Border Payments, the World Bank pulled no punches. They opened with a truth bomb that most governments are afraid to say out loud. The current global financial system is outdated, inefficient, and excludes over 1 billion people. The World Bank didn't just criticize the legacy system, they outlined what comes next. They laid out a framework for the replacement, and that replacement is digital, interoperable, and powered by blockchain infrastructure. There are 3 guiding principles: interoperability across sovereign borders, regulatory compliance at the protocol level, instant final settlement using programmable infrastructure. And instead of painting a vague vision of the future, they pointed to concrete, real-world pilots already proving this system works. Project Dunbar, a BIS-led multi-CBDC platform tested by Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, and South Africa. Project Mbridge, involving the People's Bank of China, UAE, Hong Kong, and Thailand to settle cross-border payments via tokenized central bank money. Project Icebreaker, led by the BIS and central banks of Israel, Sweden, and Norway to test interoperability and FX conversion between CBDCs. But here's the part that should have sent shockwaves through the markets. Blockchain solutions like RippleMet and Stellar present promising models for cross-border interoperability and instant clearing. Let's be clear, this is not retail hype. This is the World Bank officially acknowledging Ripple and Stellar as models for solving the exact problems it aims to fix: fractured liquidity, siloed currencies, and slow, expensive settlement systems. And they didn't say might be useful someday. They said present promising models. This is the language institutions use when they're giving marching orders to governments. And let's not forget, the World Bank isn't some independent think tank. It's the strategic implementation arm of the IMF and UN. When the World Bank speaks, developing countries listen. Central banks listen. Multilateral agencies act. So this endorsement does more than validate Ripple and Stellar. It elevates them from interesting blockchain projects to blueprint-level infrastructure for the global monetary redesign. And that has direct implications for XRP and XLM, because those tokens aren't just speculative assets. They're the native liquidity bridges for RippleMet and Stellar. So when the World Bank says RippleMet and Stellar are part of the solution, what they're really saying is this: XRP and XLM are embedded inside the next-generation financial architecture. No longer is it about whether blockchain will win. The decision's been made. The rails have been chosen. What comes next is scale. And once the corridors open and these protocols go from pilot to policy, utility demand for XRP and XLM becomes a matter of economic necessity, not retail speculation. And that's the part no one's pricing in yet. Because when demand becomes inelastic, when it's tied to national settlement flows, the price isn't going to move gradually. It's going to reprice violently, almost overnight. And that repricing starts the moment the old system turns off and the new rails go live. The World Bank just confirmed those rails are Ripple and Stellar. And if you're already holding XRP and XLM, you're not investing in hype. You're positioned inside the system that's being activated. XRP's institutional footprint just got bigger. Ripple's journey has been long, but it's finally stepping into the light, not just as a crypto project, but as a foundational layer of the global financial reset. And the World Bank just helped confirm it. Ripple's growing list of partnerships and pilot programs reads like a who's who of international finance. Over 20 CBDC pilot programs around the world. Government-level partnerships with Bhutan, Palau, Montenegro, Colombia, and other emerging economies. Full alignment with ISO 20022 standards, meaning seamless integration into the global financial messaging system. But here's what matters most. Ripple has built a dedicated CBDC platform, a tailor-made infrastructure that lets central banks mint and issue digital fiat currencies, distribute them through approved intermediaries, redeem and destroy tokens in real time, enforce KYC, AML, privacy, and compliance policies at the protocol layer, monitor and adjust liquidity using Ripple's compliance dashboard, and running underneath it all, XRP as the native liquidity bridge. That means every time value flows between jurisdictions, between digital currencies, or across currency pairs, XRP could be the mechanism for settlement. This isn't a maybe. This isn't future potential. This is active infrastructure already being tested and refined. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS, has directly collaborated with Ripple through sandbox projects. Ripple is also a member of the Digital Pound Foundation and Digital Euro Association, giving it a front-row seat in shaping Europe's CBDC strategy. They've even engaged with the Federal Reserve's Faster Payments Task Force, long before crypto was even considered legitimate by policymakers. So when the World Bank name-drops RippleNet, it's not a guess. It's a validation. Ripple is being positioned as the compliance-first, enterprise-grade blockchain protocol that governments can actually trust. And if governments trust Ripple, they inevitably rely on XRP as the native bridge asset. This is what institutional adoption looks like. Quiet integration, strategic partnerships, regulatory alignment, and global infrastructure being built behind the scenes. XRP isn't just surviving in a bear market. It's expanding its footprint inside the new monetary grid. And if you're holding it, you're not betting on hype. You're holding the keys to programmable value settlement in a system that's about to go live. Stellar's humanitarian rails go global. While Ripple focuses on banks and liquidity, Stellar, XLM, is becoming the public-facing infrastructure for aid, remittances, and on off-ramps. And the World Bank has taken note. Stellar has delivered USDC-based aid payments in Ukraine, Kenya, Colombia, and beyond. Partnered with UNHCR and MoneyGram for compliant, cash-outable humanitarian finance. Proven its ability to deploy digital public infrastructure faster than banks can move paper. And here's the kicker. Stellar's work with the UN, World Bank, and NGOs puts it at the intersection of public finance and digital delivery. The World Bank wants scalable, affordable payment corridors. Stellar already built them. They want blockchain that supports digital IDs, instant compliance, and offline functionality. Stellar's already piloting MET2. Section 4, ISO 20022, the common language for value. Behind the scenes of this entire reset is ISO 20022, the new messaging standard adopted by SWIFT, Fedwire, ECB, and over 11,000 banks worldwide. Why does this matter? Because tokens that align with ISO 20022 can communicate natively with the banking system. Both XRP and XLM are compliant with ISO 20022. That means they can be used in real-time gross settlement systems. They can act as bridges between CBDCs. They can plug into tokenized asset platforms. The World Bank didn't just say use blockchain. They said use blockchain that fits with bank-grade compliance. And only a few protocols on Earth check all the boxes. Instant settlement, programmable compliance, ISO 20022 interoperability, neutral bridge status, XRP and XLM lead that list. What this means for retail holders. Here's what most people miss. When the World Bank signals something, it's not hype, it's policy. And that policy trickles down into national regulations, private partnerships, and funding channels. This isn't about short-term pumps. It's about systemic integration. If you're holding XRP or XLM, you're holding pre-approved financial infrastructure, blockchain that solves real problems, technology that's already inside the new system. But because this transformation is happening quietly, most retail investors are still watching the wrong coins. The money doesn't move until the switch flips. And when it does, it's going to move fast. Section 6. Who else is building with Ripple and Stellar? Let's talk ecosystem. Ripple, partnered with Mercy Corps, Novati, Tranglo, Modeler, and central banks. Member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Euro Association. Recognized by the World Economic Forum as a blockchain for digital assets leader. Stellar works with UNHCR, MoneyGram, Circle USDC, and DFS Lab, partner in the G20 Tech Sprint with BIS and Saudi Arabia. Member of ID 2020, supporting self-sovereign identity on-chain. These aren't speculative deals. They're live integrations with government agencies, multilateral institutions, and regulated financial partners. That's what gives XRP and XLM their unique position. They're not waiting for adoption. They're already being used. Why the price hasn't moved yet? Let's make one thing clear. Price action is the last thing to move in a system-wide infrastructure shift. Retail traders chase candles. Institutions build railways. And XRP and XLM have spent the last 3 years being accumulated, tested, and deployed under the radar, while lawsuits, regulations, and bear market noise kept most people distracted. Why hasn't the price exploded yet? Because the switch hasn't fully flipped, but it's being wired in real time. What we're seeing is the calm before the volume storm. UN corridors on Stellar are already live. NGO aid delivery through Ripple Tech is already operational. CBDC infrastructure aligned with ISO 20022 is already active. And when all of that turns from pilot to policy, that's when utility demand for XRP and XLM becomes inevitable. And utility demand doesn't look like speculative pumps. It looks like institutional grade by pressure, inelastic demand for settlement liquidity, protocol level repricing driven by systemic integration. Remember, these assets aren't meme tokens. They're not driven by influencer tweets. They're embedded into the infrastructure of programmable money. So when trillions start flowing across corridors built on RippleNet and Stellar, and there's a limited supply of native assets to facilitate those flows, the result is violent repricing. Not over months, but overnight. The silence is strategic. The price is suppressed. But the rails are live, and the revaluation is only a trigger away. If you're holding XRP or XLM, you're holding the bottleneck asset of a system that's about to move at scale. And once it moves, there's no time to catch up. How to position yourself before the switch. This is where it gets real. Because while most people are still arguing about crypto on social media, the institutional rails are being laid, and XRP and XLM are right in the center of it. So how do you position yourself before the switch flips? Follow the trail of adoption. Don't listen to influencers. Watch who the BIS, IMF, UNDP, and World Bank are partnering with. Follow the central banks. Track the NGOs deploying aid on blockchain rails. The partnerships are already public, but few are paying attention. Monitor the corridors, not the charts. Instead of obsessing over short-term price moves, monitor where RippleNet and Stellar-based solutions are going live. Where is MoneyGram integrating blockchain? Where is Ripple deploying CBDC pilots? Where are the new corridors opening? Think in infrastructure cycles, not meme cycles. Bitcoin had the hype cycle. Ethereum had the ICO cycle. But now we're entering the infrastructure cycle. And that means utility, compliance, scalability, and global integration matter more than ever. XRP and XLM check all those boxes. Ignore the noise. Retail narratives will distract you. But the truth is simple. If you're holding the bridge assets of the new monetary system, and you know why they're valuable, you're already ahead of 99% of the market. This isn't about FOMO. This is about understanding where the system is heading. Because when that system goes live, there will be no time to reposition. Just like the internet in the 90s or mobile banking in the 2000s, By the time the mainstream catches up, the early positions will already be locked. The bomb has been dropped. The World Bank just dropped the bomb. They've confirmed what XRP and XLM holders have known for years. Blockchain isn't coming. It's here. The financial system is being rebuilt, and Ripple and Stellar are already the rails for that rebuild. This isn't speculation. It's policy. It's infrastructure. The question is no longer if. It's how fast. And when it all flips, it won't be gradual. It'll be sudden, permanent, irreversible. So if you're holding XRP or XLM, hold it with conviction. You're not betting on hype. You're holding programmable liquidity. You're holding tokenized infrastructure. You're holding the pipes of the future monetary system. Subscribe to Be Crypto Smart and turn on notifications, because the next 12 months won't just shift the crypto space. They'll redefine the global economy. You're not early. You're positioned. And soon, the rest of the world will realize what's already live. Welcome to the digital reset.